My name's Ava Peterson. I'm 29, black, and live in Houston, Texas, which means I'm used to three things: unbearable humidity, drive-through daiquiris, and people acting fake polite while stabbing you with a monogrammed steak knife. That's basically the state motto. Now let's rewind to 6 months ago when I was engaged to a man named Jason. I thought he was the one. You know the type: clean-cut, sharp dresser, worked in finance, paid for dinner on the first date without flinching. He had that I pay my taxes early energy that made my mother breathe a sigh of relief and my aunt whisper, "Get pregnant fast." And to top it off, I had Camille, my maid of honor, and my best friend since age 9. We met in Mrs. Landry's class during a spelling bee when I beat her on the word rendezvous, and she told me I'd made it up. I told her to look it up. She did. We've been inseparable ever since. So when I got engaged, I naturally assumed Camille would be there for every moment: dress shopping, venue drama, cake tastings. She was the first one I asked to be MH. She cried. We hugged. It was a whole scene. But when it came to planning the bridal shower, Camille got weird. I brought it up casually the first time, like, "Hey, are you still down to plan something? You know I'm low-key, brunch and mimosas kind of vibe." She said work was crazy. I waited. A week passed. 2. She started leaving my texts on read. So I figured, okay, she's stressed. Life is life. No big deal. I'll just throw it myself. I'm a Capricorn. I plan things when I'm stressed. Keeps the darkness at bay. I booked a private room at this sweet little French cafe in Montrose. White hydrangeas, champagne flute tower, brunch buffet. 12 friends invited. All confirmed. I made gift bags with hand lotion, mini candles, and chocolate truffles tied in blush ribbon. I even made a Spotify playlist, Ava's Last Single Vibes. It had Lizzo, Fiancé, a little Mariah for the nostalgia. I got there early that Sunday in a white jumpsuit that hugged my hips like it had a crush on me. My hair was curled, nails done, lashes fluttering. I was excited. I felt like the girl for once. And then, no one came. Except Tasha. God bless Tasha. She walked in with a Target gift bag and a look of panic. "Where is everyone?" she whispered. I blinked. "You're looking at her." We sat there for 2 hours. Just the two of us. Eating croissants and pretending the silence wasn't loud enough to crack my ribs open. Tasha tried to keep it light, but every now and then she'd glance at her phone, and I could tell she was checking Instagram, trying to see if she'd missed something. She hadn't. I paid the $600 tab myself. Packed up the untouched gift bags. Gave the server an extra $50 tip, just so she wouldn't look at me with those pity eyes. I got in my car, drove home, kicked off my heels, and cried so hard I gave myself a nosebleed. My fiancé never called to ask how it went. Camille never even texted. At that point, I didn't know the worst part yet. But I was about to find out. So let's set the scene. It's Sunday night. I'm sitting on my couch in the dark, still in my now wrinkled white jumpsuit, nursing a bottle of Prosecco like it's a life raft and I've just survived the Titanic. I'm wiping mascara off with the back of my hand and muttering, "It's fine, you're fine," like a damn chant. And then my phone buzzes. Instagram. I shouldn't have looked. I knew I shouldn't have. But pain makes you curious. You want to see it, even if it hurts, just to make sure it's real. The post was from Brianna, a girl I went to college with who somehow ended up in my friend group through social osmosis and too many group chats. The photo? Camille, standing in front of a "She Said Yes" banner, grinning like she'd just won a pageant. Gold balloons. A mimosa bar. A custom cake shaped like a diamond ring. She was wearing a white satin dress. Let me say that again. My maid of honor, who couldn't find the time to help plan my bridal shower, was throwing her own engagement party. On the same day, At the exact same time. I stared at the screen, thinking maybe my brain had cracked and this was a stress hallucination. But no. Tag after tag started popping up. Camille holding up her ring. Camille kissing her fiancé. Camille opening a Tiffany box. Then I saw him. Jason. My Jason. My fiancé from 2 months ago, who'd broken up with me saying he needed space to figure things out. He looked figured out as hell in those pictures. Arm around Camille's waist, kissing her cheek. Wearing the same damn shirt he wore on our first date. The nerve. I scrolled back to our breakup texts, like I was going to find some clue, some crack in the foundation I missed. I didn't. Just lies stacked neatly like firewood. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. I wanted to scream. But mostly, I wanted to know when it started. Had he been cheating on me? Had Camille been lying to me this whole time? That's when it hit me. Camille never forgot about my bridal shower. She deliberately threw her engagement party the same day. And everyone who didn't show up to my brunch? Yeah, they were there. Smiling in photos. Eating cake. Clinking glasses. Even the ones who had told me, ugh, so sorry, girl, my car's in the shop, or I've got food poisoning. Food poisoning, my ass. Y'all looked real healthy holding mimosas. My inbox was dead silent. No apologies. No explanations. Just an entire group of people pretending I didn't exist. And Camille? She posted a story that night, just her face, all glowy and smug, saying, "Today was so special. I can't wait to marry my soulmate." I lay in bed that night and felt something inside me shift. Like a door quietly shutting, like a lock clicking into place. I'd been betrayed. I'd been humiliated. But I wasn't going to cry anymore. I was going to remember. And I was going to get smart. So, after the Sunday of shame, I took a week off from being the bigger person. No yoga. No journaling. No talking it out with my therapist. No spiritual bypassing. Just pure, unfiltered bitterness. And let me tell you, bitterness has range. It can drive you to Google things like how to file a restraining order on your own disappointment or how long does karma take, exactly? I didn't tell anyone what happened. Not yet. I wanted to see what Camille and Jason would do without my reaction. Would they reach out? Would they try to explain? They didn't. Well, Camille sent me one text. 5 days later. "Hey, I know things look bad, but I didn't want to hurt you. Can we talk?" Ma'am, you did not trip and fall into an engagement ring. You didn't accidentally schedule an event on the exact day and time as mine. This wasn't a wardrobe malfunction. It was character assassination with pastries and party favors. I left her on read. My silence was the only shred of dignity I had left. Meanwhile, Jason? He vanished like a used car warranty salesman. No texts. No calls. The man who used to send me good morning selfies now had the digital footprint of a ghost. So I started watching. Quietly. Carefully. I made a fake Instagram. You know the kind. No followers, no posts. Just a name like booklover_0429 and a picture of a golden retriever that I pulled from a stock photo site. And I followed everyone. Camille, Jason, Brianna, that entire backstabbing brunch crew. I even followed Camille's coworker Jenna, the one who posted everything, even her salad dressings. They didn't suspect a thing. And oh, the things I learned. Apparently, Camille and Jason had been official for over 2 months. Which was interesting, because Jason and I broke up 7 weeks before that. You do the math. From what I could piece together, they'd been creeping before he ended things with me. Probably during. Maybe even longer. One caption said, "When you find love in the most unexpected place." Another one said, "We've been through so much to be together." Through so much? Yeah, like my relationship. Camille had also started tagging him in couple accounts, hashtag JCam2024. Their new wedding date was set. Fall, rustic chic. And guess who their planner was? No one. They were doing it all themselves. That's when a thought flickered. A dangerous little spark. If they wanted to plan their wedding all by themselves, maybe I'd give them the opportunity to really do it. Under pressure. With fire. But I wasn't going to blow it all up yet. I needed to wait. Let it simmer. Because the thing about betrayal is people think the worst part is the moment it happens. They don't realize the worst part is what you do afterward. And I was about to become their worst part. Here's what they don't tell you about dating men in finance. They're great at tracking other people's money, but not so great at hiding their own mess. Jason used to brag a lot about how he was too valuable to ever get fired. Said it like a punchline. Like job security was a reward for existing. Never mind the late nights, the networking trips that sounded suspiciously like beach weekends with his buddies, or the random Venmo charges that didn't quite match the stories. I used to ignore them. The little red flags. I thought he was just careless. Turns out he was crafty. After the betrayal, once the heartbreak curdled into obsession, don't judge me, if you've ever cried into a Costco-sized bottle of barefoot wine, you get it. I started remembering things. Slips. Names. Patterns. Jason always had a loose mouth after 2 bourbons, and I was always the girl who remembered what everyone else forgot. Like how he once joked about inflating receipts for reimbursements. How he'd order $300 dinners, bill the company, and pocket the difference. He thought it was clever. I thought it was gross. But I laughed because love makes you stupid and polite. He worked for a private wealth management firm in downtown Houston. Serious money. The kind of place with walnut-paneled boardrooms and espresso bars in the break room. He was an assistant director, gunning for a promotion. And from the photos Camille was posting, he was living very well. Too well. So I started digging. Nothing illegal. Just research. I called in a favor from Tasha's cousin, Sean, who worked in IT at a sister company. I asked vague questions. Hypotheticals. What happens when someone submits the same client dinner receipt twice? What happens when someone bills for a flight that never happened? Sean laughed. That's how one guy got fired last year. The system flags everything now. Then I remembered this one hotel, the Rosewood in Dallas. Jason went there twice. Or so he said. But when I called the front desk, pretending to confirm a future booking, the clerk casually mentioned that no such reservation had existed under his name in their system, past or future. Interesting. Over the next week, I compiled a little folder. Expense report copies I found in our shared Dropbox from when we lived together. Calendar invites. Screenshot texts where he mentioned fabricating dinners or getting creative with invoices. I wasn't sure what to do with it yet. But I knew this. Jason was up for a promotion that month. Senior Financial Director. The kind of title that came with a 6-figure bonus, a corner office, and a license to gloat for the rest of his life. He wanted that job like it was oxygen. So I asked myself, what would hurt more, blowing it up now, or waiting until he could taste it? I chose the latter. Because revenge isn't just about justice. It's about timing. And baby, I was about to become a human clock. I waited 3 weeks. Not because I was scared, because I was patient. Jason's promotion was being announced at the end of the quarter. His company, a boutique private wealth firm in Houston with way too many vowels in the name, you know the kind, Hollister and Avena or Gleason and Yard, was big on appearances. Clean press. Loyal clients. Quiet scandals. They liked things tidy. So when I mailed that envelope, I didn't use my name. I used his. Jason Michael Hughes. Internal mailroom pickup. From J. M. Hughes. To Compliance Department. just like that. Inside, I tucked a USB drive with a neat little folder titled Client Expense Reconciliation, Q2, Q4. Looked official enough. I made sure to format everything in the same style his firm used, date-coded folders, PDF exports, tables with clean columns. But buried in those files? Duplicate meal receipts for the same date. Flight confirmations that never matched TSA records. A $1,200 client retreat at a hotel that hadn't seen Jason since 2019 because I called them. An audio file, lifted from an old voice memo on my phone, of Jason laughing while saying I could charge them for a bag of chips and they'd thank me for the branding. I didn't send a letter. No threats. No accusations. Just enough rope for him to hang himself. 3 days after the envelope arrived, Camille posted a photo of Jason holding a cigar on their balcony with the caption, Future CEO Energy Black Heart Briefcase Cocktail Glass. I almost felt bad. Almost. Then, on Friday, I got a text from Tasha. Girl, did you hear? Jason got pulled into HR today. Looked like someone punched him in the soul. I smiled. Not wide, just enough. I was in line at Trader Joe's holding a frozen mushroom risotto. Felt like the right moment to enjoy something decadent. Apparently, the firm didn't fire him right away. Oh no, that would be merciful. What they did was worse. They froze the promotion. They launched a formal audit. And they made him sign a compliance cooperation agreement, which is corporate speak for we think you're guilty, but we're going to let you sweat until we can prove it. Jason, the man who once called his boss a flabby sociopath during pillow talk, now had to sit across from that same boss and answer for every shady receipt he'd ever filed. Camille went radio silent on socials for a bit. Then came the nervous stories. Remember, y'all, life isn't about money, it's about love. A week later, she posted a meme that said, people hate when you win without them. Sure, sis. But some wins are rented, and the landlord just knocked. At this point, I could have stopped. But I wasn't done. This was just the appetizer. I hadn't even started cooking yet. If Jason was the head of the snake, Camille was the fanged little smile that made you think it was cute right before it bit you. She didn't just steal my fiancé, she took a scalpel to our friendship and carved it up with confetti and cupcakes. What really got me, though, wasn't the betrayal. It was the smugness. The radio silence after my shower. The way she kept posting like she'd pulled off a win. I didn't want revenge that made her cry. I wanted her to crack slowly. Publicly. I wanted to peel the perfect off her, layer by layer, until the rot underneath was all anyone could see. So I aimed for the spotlight. And what better spotlight than a wedding rehearsal dinner? Yes, they still had one. Turns out, despite the audit at Jason's firm and the rumors swirling through his office faster than a wildfire in July, Camille insisted they push forward with a small private ceremony. She framed it as love conquers all. More like Camille refuses to let go of the Pinterest board she's been updating since 2016. The venue was a lakeside and outside of Conroe, rustic, tasteful, and just bougie enough to pretend they still had money. I wasn't invited to the rehearsal dinner, obviously. But I knew someone who was. Brianna. Yes, the same Brianna who tagged Camille in the engagement photos and used to send me birthday memes 3 days late. Brianna worked for me now. Freelance admin stuff, invoices, calendar management. She needed side money, and I needed someone with eyes on the guest list. Are you seriously asking me to sneak you into the rehearsal dinner of your ex and your ex-best friend? She said over coffee. Technically, I'm just asking you to confirm seating assignments and email me the RSVP link, I said. She looked at me for a long time and finally said, Ava, you scare me. Good. The RSVP link was unsecured. I picked a guest who hadn't responded, Camille's aunt from New Orleans, and filled in my name. Table for one, baby. I rented a dress that made me look expensive and unbothered. Emerald green satin, slid up the thigh. Jewelry subtle, heels lethal. Hair slicked back like a villainess. I looked like the woman you never see coming until she's sipping your champagne and sleeping with your secrets. When I walked into the dinner, heads turned. Not immediately, but enough. Jason did a double take that probably cracked his neck. Camille's smile dropped off her face like a soufflé left in the cold. "Oh my God. Ava," she asked, loud enough for half the room to hear. I gave her a little wave and said, "Couldn't miss the happy occasion." I waited until dessert to strike. The waiter brought out chocolate lava cakes. Everyone was toasting. Jason stood to say a few words about redemption and taking chances. Then I stood too. "Before we wrap this up," I said, tapping my glass, "I just want to toast the bride and groom and thank them for teaching me that betrayal is the most honest mirror." You could have heard a pin drop. Or a conscience. Camille's face was frozen mid-smile. Jason looked like he needed to be rebooted. "But really," I continued, "congrats. You two deserve each other. Especially now that your promotion's gone. And Camille, I heard your podcast got canceled? Rough week. But hey, marriage is about weathering storms, right?" I clinked my glass, sipped, and walked out before anyone could move. That night, I turned my phone off. The text storm could wait. They needed to sit in the silence. Alone, together. The fallout didn't hit all at once. It crept in like humidity on a Houston morning, slow, thick, and impossible to ignore. By Monday, Camille's curated online persona started showing cracks. First, she deleted her Twitter. Then her Instagram went private. Which, if you knew Camille, was code red. This was a woman who once posted a crying selfie in her car with the caption, "Just got a parking ticket. Be kind to yourself." But something about that rehearsal dinner shook her. I knew it the second I saw her eyes twitch when I said, "Your promotion's gone." Because I hadn't told anyone that. Jason must have. Probably in one of those late-night spirals where he still thought she was a safe place. Spoiler, she wasn't. According to Tasha, who, at this point, had gone full inside woman for me, Camille started unraveling at home. Screaming matches. Gaslighting. At one point, she told Jason that I hacked his work emails and was obsessed with them. To be fair, she wasn't wrong about the obsession. But I never hacked anything, just remembered more than they thought I would. And now that I knew she was cracking, I gave her just enough push to tip her off balance. One morning, I created a fake email using the name Elise Martins, a very basic profile. I knew Camille had pitched her wedding-themed podcast to a lifestyle network in Austin that was considering local programming. She'd been so proud of it. A wedding planner's take on marriage prep, from dress to distress. Cute name. Shame she stole it from me when I was brainstorming business ideas back in 2021. I emailed the network with a polite, professional tip. "Hello. I wanted to make you aware that your potential collaborator, Camille Hayes, has recently been involved in a very public controversy involving the sabotage of another woman's wedding and the suspected financial misconduct of her fiancé. I'd encourage your legal team to vet her digital history carefully. Sincerely, Elise." No threats. No drama. Just a nudge. 3 days later, Camille's podcast teaser vanished from the network's landing page. Her Linktree shrunk by 2/3. One of the wedding vendors she'd tagged, a boutique cake shop, removed their photo from her engagement party. That's the thing about influence. It's built on illusion. Shake the frame hard enough, and the whole canvas starts peeling. And Jason? Oh, Jason was unraveling in his own delicious way. The audit wasn't finished yet, but the compliance team was circling tighter. I'd heard from Brianna, who casually eavesdropped at happy hour, that he was taking personal time, and had started using a Gmail instead of his work address for wedding stuff. He was trying to build a parachute. What he didn't realize was that I had already cut the cord on the chute. Meanwhile, Camille was posting cryptic quotes to her stories. Don't let jealous people dim your light. Some folks can't handle seeing you win. And my personal favorite. Revenge is for the weak. I'm too busy glowing. Sure, babe. Glow away. From the ashes. Camille and Jason didn't cancel the wedding. Of course they didn't. See, narcissists don't quit. They just rebrand. If there's one thing Camille knows how to do, it's stick a glittery bow on a trash fire and call it a fairy tale. They scaled it back, way back. The country club venue? Cancelled. The 7-tiered cake? Replaced by a local bakery's intimate elopement special. The guest list dropped from 120 to 25. And it wasn't a fall wedding anymore. It was late summer for warmth and symbolism. Sure, Jan. I wasn't invited. But that didn't matter. Because you don't need an invitation when you already have the guest list, the planner's email, the address of the private home they were renting for the ceremony, and an old bridesmaid dress still hanging in the back of your closet. No, I didn't crash the wedding. Not physically. I didn't want to be tackled by some poor, underpaid cousin in a Men's Warehouse tux. But I did attend. Digitally. The morning of the wedding, I scheduled a series of anonymous deliveries to the venue. Delivery number 1, a bouquet of dead roses with a card that read, "May your love last as long as these flowers." Delivery number 2, a bottle of off-brand sparkling cider labeled champagne with a fake return address from JMH Financial Compliance Department. Delivery number 3, an envelope plain, beige, corporate, slipped into the mailbox an hour before the ceremony. Inside, a printout of Jason's expense audit summary leaked anonymously to his firm's partner board the night before. You might ask how I got that summary. Let's just say someone in Jason's office forwarded it to booklover_0429, probably thinking it was a newsletter contact. Accidental honesty is still honesty. The audit had concluded that Jason's expense activities were inconsistent with company policy and subject to formal disciplinary review. Translation? His promotion was officially dead, and his job? Hanging by a thread. But that wasn't even the best part. Because just as the wedding guests were gathering, Camille's phone started blowing up. One of her old friends, someone she hadn't talked to in months, decided that was the moment to forward a screenshot of my now viral blog post. You remember the one? The maid of honor who took the groom. No names, of course. Just enough detail to be recognizable to anyone who knew the players. Engagement theft, betrayal, canceled showers, expense fraud, the whole thing laid out like a slow-cooked confession. Someone had even posted it to Reddit. It hit the front page under r/wedding drama. People were calling it the most insane betrayal ever. The comments? Brutal. She deserves to walk down the aisle into a brick wall. I hope the flowers wilt out of protest. Imagine starting your marriage with a fraud investigation and a burned bridge. Camille tried to do damage control mid-ceremony prep. She cried. She screamed. She locked herself in the guest bathroom for 40 minutes. And Jason? He was too busy answering calls from his firm's legal team to notice she'd stopped crying and started thinking. They did get married. I'll give them that. The photos looked stiff, like they'd been posed by hostages. The next day, Camille posted one single picture, her bouquet in a trash can. No caption. Just silence. I didn't ruin her wedding. I just handed her the mirror. And she saw what was standing next to her. After Camille's trash can bouquet post, things went eerily quiet. No honeymoon content. No sunset selfies in Santorini. No matching Mr. and Mrs. passport covers held over airplane wings. Just radio silence and the occasional cryptic quote. Sometimes, letting go is the only power you have. Everything happens for a reason, even betrayal. Camille was always the type to post a life she wasn't living. So when the filters disappeared and the quotes got darker, I knew something had snapped. Tasha confirmed it. 3 days after the wedding, Camille moved back in with her parents. Jason had needed space, translation, damage control. Turns out, the firm didn't fire him immediately. But they did what big Texas firms do best. They bled him dry with meetings, cold shoulders, and a reputation that stuck like barbecue grease. He resigned a month later for personal reasons. Camille tried to play dutiful wife, but without the power couple status, her empire of curated brunches and wedding partnerships vanished like a vape cloud in a wind tunnel. And me? I was thriving. A few weeks after the wedding, a woman named Rachel emailed me. She worked for a production company that specialized in real-life wedding disasters. She'd read my blog, tracked me down through LinkedIn, and said, "We need to talk." 3 Zoom calls later, I had a development contract for a podcast. The rec list: real brides, real betrayals, real recovery. It exploded. Turns out, people love hearing about cheaters, liars, and friends from hell, especially when the storyteller is calm, poised, and dangerously specific. Camille's story was the first episode. I changed names. I blurred timelines. But everyone local knew. One florist DM'd me and said, "You've done more for wedding accountability than any review site ever could." I was invited to speak on a panel at a wedding expo. Irony's so thick I could frost a cake with it. Meanwhile, Camille tried to relaunch her own podcast, a rebrand called Healing After Hurt. It lasted 2 episodes. One sponsor pulled out after concerns about authenticity. Another accused her of plagiarizing their title. The domain expired within 6 weeks. Jason applied for a job at another firm in Austin. He didn't get it. Apparently, the HR team had concerns about discretion. I never sent anything to the Austin firm, but someone on Reddit might have. Could have been a fan. Could have been fate. One night, I got an email from Camille. No greeting. No sign-off. Just a single sentence. "You win." I didn't reply, because it wasn't about winning anymore. It was about reclaiming my time, my name, my damn dignity. They took a chunk of my life and tried to eat it like cake at a party I wasn't invited to. But I took it back, bite by bite, and built a throne out of their crumbs. It's been a year. A year since the bridal shower that never was. A year since Camille threw herself a party and tossed me out of my own life. A year since Jason kissed her under a "she said yes" banner like I was already buried. They wanted me humiliated. Instead, they handed me the origin story of a woman they never saw coming. My podcast? Syndicated. My blog? Monetized. My inbox? Overflowing with stories from women who'd been burned by the same people smiling in their bridal party photos. Weddings aren't just tulle and cake. They're mirrors. And when you break them, someone's gotta sweep up the shards. That someone turned out to be me. So, last weekend, I threw myself a party. Not a bridal shower. Not a revenge bash. Something better. A reclamation. Venue. A rooftop in Houston overlooking the skyline. Champagne on ice. Neon sign that read "Unbothered and Booked." Dress code? Power colors. Real friends only. Tasha wore a jumpsuit so fierce it made 2 strangers ask for her number. Brianna brought her new girlfriend and laughed so loud the sound felt like freedom. My mom even came. She hugged me tight and whispered, "I see you now." I stood there in a satin emerald green dress, the same one I wore to the rehearsal dinner, and this time, I wasn't there to burn it down. I was there to rise above it. I gave a toast. Not out of bitterness, but gratitude. To everyone here, I said, and everyone who left. Both taught me exactly who I am. The crowd clapped. But in the back, I saw her. Camille. Yes, she came. I didn't invite her. But one of the girls must have sent the link to the RSVP site when it went public. She stood there in a beige trench coat like she was trying to fold herself into the wall. Alone. No ring. No husband. No curated caption to hide behind. She watched me, just watched, like she didn't know whether to run or apologize. So I walked over. Camille, I said, voice calm. She looked up. Her eyes were tired. Older. I wanted to say, she started. I held up a hand. You don't have to, I said. This isn't about you anymore. And I meant it. She blinked, nodded once, and left without a word. The silence that followed was peaceful. Later that night, I sat on the rooftop ledge, shoes off, hair down, listening to Tasha tell a story about a groom who'd gotten dumped at the altar because the bride found his Tinder the night before. I laughed. A real laugh. No bitterness in it. Just light. My life isn't what I pictured. It's better. I didn't get the perfect wedding. I didn't get the white dress, or the cake, or the matching champagne flutes. But I got something else. Power. Peace. And the last word. And I've learned something. When people bury you, don't just claw your way out. Build a throne from the dirt. Sit tall. And never send an invitation to anyone who made you feel small. Because the party? It's mine now. And I'm not leaving.